everybody, and welcome to our second edition of the Tribute to the Global Wrestling Federation. And joining us on the line is another star from Global. First week was Craig Johnson, the announcer over there at Global. And the second week is a guy who got that win and released it on video, which was one of my funnier memories. The one and only Barry Horowitz. Barry, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on the show. You're one of those guys. We had a couple guys on, and what do you prefer to be called? Because unfortunately, your career kind of is going to be considered like preliminary, or I don't want to use the word jobber because it's not to be insulting, but we had guys like Jim Powers on and yourself, and to be honest with you, I enjoy those interviews a lot more than some of the stuffier guys who don't want to talk. So, what do you prefer to consider yourself? Like what would you call your guy? A preliminary or?
No, I would say I was a mid-carder.
Mid-carder.
I started preliminary, but I didn't remain there.
You did not. No, you.
And also, I didn't wrestle preliminary.
You did not. No, and that's the thing. I was watching some tapes the other day, both of Global and WCW in the later years, and of course your stuff in the WWF where you're challenging for tag titles and all that. But I've been watching some stuff, and it's been great to kind of relive some of those memories. And I guess the thing I want to talk to you about first, before we get into a little bit of that other stuff, if you don't mind, is Global. And Global was a little bit of an interesting company. You at that point were a 12-year veteran, so you really already knew the ropes. It wasn't like you were one of the young kids like Chaz or what have you that were coming in. And what was your opinion working for Global, and did you think that it had legs?
Yeah, I thought it did. I thought it was pretty cool. I thought the whole situation and organization was done pretty good. I was going to Dallas once a week, and I was also wrestling for other organizations because I had I was a freelancer and open contract, so I thought it was pretty cool for what it had. I wish I was there on the opening legs of the Global and got to stay even longer, but I was grateful for what I had and what I experienced.
Very cool. Now that was a wrestling fan's dream for me. I said, last week when I was a kid, it was the greatest thing ever because almost every day it was on ESPN.
Yeah.
It was a great thing for wrestling, I think. And obviously you maybe got attention there, but obviously you cut your teeth and made bigger waves in things like Florida Championship Wrestling. And I want to ask you, Jack Hart, where did the name come from? And when people look back, did you think that people would think of you as one of the Hart brothers?
Yeah. I mean, I find that flattering because I respect the whole Hart family and the Junjin and the way they were broken into pro wrestling and the way they broke other superstars and stars and wrestlers into pro wrestling. So that was flattering, but I'm not originally a Hart. My original name was given to me, my real name, Barry Hart, by Professor Boris Malenko.
I was just about to ask you about him, yeah.
And, by the way, the greatest trainer, the greatest ever in the world, in my opinion. The way I see guys train now and get broken in, nobody holds a card to him. I mean, just a total detailed professor, teacher, what have you. I mean, excellent, and his sons. But he was the king, so... I highly respect him, and I'll never forget him as long as I live.
You said here that I read up on you a little bit, and it says here you trained for 18 months. Was that a rigorous training with Boris?
Yes, that was I had a part-time job, and I was hitting the weights in the gym, and I would go to him 3 nights a week, which is about a half-hour, 40-minute drive from St. Petersburg, Florida to Tampa. And we were in a mattress warehouse for 3 nights a week. In the summer, it was about 105. In the winter, it was about 40 degrees. You were in there about 2 to 3 hours per night.
Wow.
So, and sometimes it was 4 nights a week. Did that for a year and a half.
Wow. Do you think that
it was what's that?
Now, when you're trained like that, and obviously, you hear about these things, and I don't think that a lot of the young fans getting into business now and a lot of the young guys getting into business now realize how hard it was to get in back then and how hard you had to work. Do you think that a lot of the trainings of what they're getting now, where it almost seems like you buy a pair of tights and be a wrestler, do you think that's a negative to the business?
Yeah, you shave your head or have a goatee, have some tattoos, and you put a pair of high-techs on and you're a pro wrestler. That's a joke. But, some things are old school and they remain it. Like, as far as certain things in the gym as far as working out with weights or even pro wrestling. You could look at it in the NFL, too. You see the old school and the new school. I mean, there's certain things that should remain the same, and then there's certain things that are trendy, and there's certain things, like I said, that shouldn't change. So there's a combination of all of that. I just don't believe you could learn the foundation of pro wrestling in a few months and, you're let loose. You just, even if you catch on, great. I mean, which is good. There's a lot to learn, and up there in the foundation is not promos and lavish places to live and so forth. You will not respect the business that way. You just won't. Wow. You got to pay your dues in life, in pro wrestling, in training. You have to. You'll respect it more.
So a lot of the guys that we saw in the most recent season of Tough Enough are actually like 10-year veterans of the independent scene, and they're still being trained by how to work the WWE style and things like that. I think while watching it, you have a little bit more hope that somebody who wins will be one of these independent workers, because at least you know that their heart's in it. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense.
Kinda. Well, yeah. Let me go back, shift gears just for a minute. The Jack Hart deal. I went to when I was wrestling for Vince Sr. I was only doing TVs, and I finally, I wanted to go to a territory to learn, the ropes of the road. You just can't learn from TV matches. Right. I was originally supposed to go to Portland, Oregon for Don Owens through Jimmy Snuka, but at the time it was filled. So they made a phone call to Jim Crockett Promotions, Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, and that's where I remained for 2 years. And that really, I'm glad, because I'm wrestling 6 nights a week. I'm traveling with Mike Rotundo and Rick Steamboat, Jay Youngblood. The one-man gang was there. Everybody was somebody there. Ric Flair, Harley Race, Mosca, Ivan Koloff, Don Kernodle, Sergeant Slaughter, Greg Valentine. The list goes on and on. The Briscoe brothers. So you better learn, unless you talk about being hungry. Yeah. Roddy Piper, Bob Orton Jr., traveling and just keeping your mouth shut and just learning your craft and the other aspects of the business. It was really profound on me and really helped me a lot, and I'm glad I was there for 2 years. So anyway, my first TV, I was Barry Hart. At the time, you got your heel and baby face, and Gary Hart was there. He's a heel.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Well, Barry Hart's a baby face. Yeah. It would get confusing to the fans. So if I'm not mistaken, in that room, I'm almost positive, Michael Hayes renamed me as Jack Hart.
Where did you get the name Jack from? Do you have any idea?
I have no idea. Just thought of it, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was watching one of the old Battle of...
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Whoa, let's take that. Gosh, I really got thrown off. He called me Bret Hart.
Oh.
That was it. I'm sorry. I got a little confused there. Bret Hart, and I'm going, I don't even know there's a Bret Hart, and I think it was mentioned, he's in Canada, don't worry about using his name or something, in the background, and I really didn't pay attention to it. And that's a whole nother story. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, as far as I was having heat with Bret until he got to know me, and it was a misunderstanding. People thought I was Bret Hart, younger, blah, 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 when I went to Maple Leaf Gardens, and he wasn't there, blah, 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 blah. But Jack Hart came when I went to Florida.
Oh, wow. And
we were in the locker room, and they said, hey, he can't call you Bret Hart. We got to think of something else. And if I'm not mistaken, that right there was, again, I think Michael Hayes was there, but I think it was between Michael Hayes and Mike Graham that thought of Jack Hart.
Right.
And that was it. That was that.
Yeah, Mike Graham.
In a nutshell, right there.
Yeah, and Mike Graham, if I'm not mistaken, you later went on to defeat as well.
Right, for the Florida Heavyweight title at the Spartan Sports Center, which is the building of University of Tampa, which has been renamed, I forgot. But, yeah, I'll never forget that. I have the utmost respect for Mike Graham, not only for that, but as a person, a human being. First of all, the man is a phenomenal wrestler and world traveler and great teacher. I mean, he kept me calm in the ring and taught well. Phenomenal. I have, utmost respect for him. And then I wrestled him like, I don't know, 9 or 10 years ago in Davie, Florida, an outdoor show. And there was not too much teaching then. I mean, I was on my way, so it was just a good back-and-forth wrestling match.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Is it cool for you to go back and wrestle some of the guys who helped you coming up, later on in your career?
Yeah, it's real cool.
It's
definitely.
Kind of to show them, hey, look what I know how to do now.
Yeah, really. Yeah, look what I've learned.
There you go.
So, okay, so we jumped from there, and then
we're going to be a little all over the place. I try to go chronologically, though.
Yeah,
and
we were somewhere else, though, that I had to go backwards.
Yeah, no, I was just I was talking a little bit. I don't remember where I was going. We were talking. We started talking about Don Owen, and then
we went there.
Battle of Belts. I remember Gordon Soley's voice calling you Jack Hart. And,
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask you. Gordon Soley's one of our sentimental favorites around here.
Oh yeah.
His son-in-law and his son-in-law and daughter are often on the show. Bob and Pam Allen. Any memories of the late great Gordon Soley? Sorry about that.
Oh no, just that he helped me with my interviews and promos, and he was very, gave me good constructive criticism and know-how and just the utmost respect. I watched him when I was in high school, when I wrestled in high school and college and so forth. So, he's the dean of professional wrestling.
That's the name I was looking for. I don't know why I drew a blank.
I mean, there's a lot of good announcers too, and while you're at it, throw Craig Johnson in there too and Scott Hudson, because those guys are really good too.
They were really good, and
very good.
Absolutely. And I mean, these are names you remember for 20 years down the line. And
sure.
Remember.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked a little bit about working down in Mid-South and working down with at Mid-Atlantic, I should say. Sorry about that. And Florida, and obviously you mentioned you already had worked for the Worldwide Wrestling Federation, and you went back up there in '93, and you had a run there, and eventually they gave you probably the biggest and most remembered push of your mainstream career with your victory over Skip, the late great Chris Candido. Now that had to be something that you thought of as a little bit overdue, don't you? You had to be hoping for that little bit of a run eventually.
I thought about all the years that I hung in there, and I go, what if I left? Well, I probably just left, and that would have been it. But like my T-shirt said, never give up. And I'm a big believer in that, because I was a pursuer, big-time pursuer. I've always believed in that, and that was my dream anyway. So I think it worked well for me. Sure, you could say you want this, you want more, and I could probably say that, but I'm still grateful that I fulfilled my dream. And getting back to what we were talking about, Toughen Up, I think that's what it was.
That's where we were, yeah.
That's where we were at, yeah. I'm not really a fan. I don't care whose show it is. It's a great marketing tool. What it is you're getting two birds with one stone. You got some ratings, you got a show, and then also you're getting a guy out of there every year or whatever for your roster, instead of getting him from wherever else they break guys in. I don't know, Ohio Valley or Florida or L.A. It's a different tool, so it's kind of a cool idea. But, I just don't believe in the big fancy house and you hold a championship belt. You shouldn't be able to touch any of that. And learning promos, I mean, that's part of the business, but that's not it. It's getting inside the ring, how to go through the ropes, how to hit the ropes properly, how to lock up. And I was watching one little clip of that show about hitting the ropes. I don't know who taught the teachers, but that's not how I was taught to hit the ropes.
That's
so
true.
Everybody's is different. They, basically we all do the same, but there's a different way. But I just think I was taught textbook, and that's the way it should be done. And sure, I got a little way away from textbook, but I don't agree with a lot of that stuff. But again, they're on that show, and they got to do that, and that's kind of cool too. Sure, it's a new way, but it's not the only way, because that's not how you get broken in day by day. I mean, that's just one of the tools and one of the shows they have, and it's cool. I just it looks pretty lavish and comfortable to me.
It does, and it's piggybacking on the success of reality TV, which
of course it is,
and I can't stand that kind of stuff.